Thanks for tuning in today to AgPhD. I'm Brian Hefty.
And I'm Darren Hefty. Thanks for joining us. You know, we're going to talk about wheat pre's. And many wheat farmers will say, wait a second, pre-emerge herbicides for wheat? Yes, there are a lot of options, and the guys that are using this are using it on more acres than you would imagine. And we're seeing some really good luck on some of the toughest weeds. So we'll talk about which pre-emerge herbicides you may consider for wheat.
We also have bad news for you today. There is a new bacterial disease that's striking cornfields around the country. We want to talk about what this disease is, how you can prevent it, and how you can treat it going forward.
When you said there's bad news, I thought you were going to talk about our weed of the week. That's still out there, so we'll show you how to stop that.
That's good
weed
news.
as well.
We can control that one, absolutely.
All right, well first, here comes today's Farm Basics.
Farm Basics is brought to you by the Liberty Link trait and Liberty herbicide from Bayer. The most reliable weed management solution, Liberty Link and Liberty herbicide are the link to efficient row crop production and sustainable weed management.
During our Farm Basics time today, we're going to talk a little about seed traits. This is something we get lots of questions about from non-farmers. So, Darren, where do you start when a non-farmer asks you about seed traits? Are you concerned about these? What are they exactly?
Well, it starts off this way usually. They either will call them GMOs or they'll call them biotech traits. And I find it interesting when somebody says GMOs, and I want to know about the GMOs, I'm concerned about the GMOs. It's generally coming at it from a negative perspective of, I've heard bad things. Why don't you tell me what your view of this is? Versus, hey, let's talk about biotech traits. It's more of that technology-friendly person that's saying, you know what? Hey, this is probably a good thing here. Let's talk about it. I want to know more about this.
All right, let me just give you a real specific example here. Let's take corn and the very first seed trait that was in corn. It was for controlling European corn borer. European corn borer had been an awful problem for decades for corn farmers around the United States and really around the world. So what farmers would do is they would go out and spray pesticides once or twice in the summer to try to control these corn borers, and control was kind of sketchy. Plus, it was expensive to do this, and in some cases they had to use pretty harmful pesticides, some of which are now banned, not even used in the United States today, thanks to the introduction of Bt corn. With that Bt, what it was is basically a protein. That's it. A protein that humans can digest just fine, livestock can digest just fine, but this certain insect couldn't digest that specific protein. Here's the other interesting thing about this. Organic farmers use this exact same protein that's put in that Bt, that exact same type of protein is used in the product called Dipel. It's been used for decades by organic growers. So why is it okay for the organic farmer to spray the Dipel over the top, but it's not okay for a farmer to have that in his Bt? It's in the corn. Same difference. It's the same stuff, working on the bug the same way. So why is that a problem? I don't understand.
I think part of the acceptance of seed traits has come from the fact that it looks like the farmer's getting such a benefit out of it and maybe not so much of a benefit for the consumer. You know, honestly, the environment is getting a pretty good amount of the benefit too.
Some of the really harmful products that used to get used, they've been able to take those off the market. We've replaced them with much safer seed traits, things that are natural, like this natural protein that can control a bug. There are also a lot of different technologies that are used around the world that are improvements for human health, for different health aspects, instead of just, oh, now I can spray Roundup on there. So you maybe have heard of the new Roundup Ready 2 Extend trait. Now a farmer can spray dicamba over the top of his soybeans to control his weeds. Okay, that's great for me as the farmer, but the other side of this is, anything that the farmer can do that is great for himself, it means more crop production typically. And if there's more crop production, that's more food for our growing world. That's a good thing.
We look at it from the United States perspective, but let's think about other countries around the world. There are traits being used in third world countries where, let's face it, the farmers don't have the technology and the equipment that we've got here in the United States, and they don't have any way to stop bugs out in their field. So it's allowing crop production in areas that it's been a challenge historically, and that is feeding more people around the globe.
All right, so if you're a non-farmer, we just want to hopefully address your concerns at least a little bit about some of these seed traits. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying, oh, every seed trait that's ever going to come in the history of mankind is always going to be perfectly safe to everybody, but all we can tell you is these seed traits that are out in the market today have had just a tremendous amount of testing. They're used around the world in many cases, and we are seeing great benefits on the farm, and in many cases too, great benefits for human health.
Seed traits are certainly an interesting topic, and so is controlling our weed of the week. Can you identify this week's weed?
The ease of use on the Spartan is pretty simple. I can hook this up in 5 minutes. Anybody that runs a chopper that chops any sort of sorghum, cane silage, anything like that, anything that is tough that ever goes down, Spartan is the best thing that we have found, and we've been looking for something like this for over 15 years, and it blew me away.
Aerial fungicide and insecticide application means high speed, low volume, and high cost to reach the top of the plant canopy. But 360 Undercover is a low speed, high volume application system that provides precision placement under the crop canopy. You hit the target and get coverage on both the top and underside of leaves. Plus, 360 Undercover mounts to the boom of your self-propelled sprayer so you or your ag retailer can get more value from this important machine. Boost efficacy with 360 Undercover. Learn more at 360YieldCenter.com.
Compaction created during planting leaves thousands of dollars of potential yield in your fields. Copperhead Ag has developed the Furrow Cruiser spiked closing wheel to close the seed trench more effectively. With a unique combination of closing power and control, the Furrow Cruiser provides earlier, more even emergence and higher stand counts, returning yield potential and putting profit back in your pocket. For more information on why you should never run a traditional closing system again, visit copperheadag.com.
Looking for a solution that will grow your returns on every acre? Farmer's Edge offers the most complete package, including hardware, software, variable rate technology services, soil sampling, and unbeatable support, all for only $3.95 an acre. Grow more precisely with Farmer's Edge. To get a special offer from Farmer's Edge, visit growyourreturns.com. That's growyourreturns.com. Grow your returns for only $3.95 an acre with Farmer's Edge. Can you afford not to?
For lower costs, higher production, Mandico Agri leads with versatility unmatched. Twister is the vertical tillage unit for no-till as well as conventional tillage. Avoid costly downtime with Twister's ease of maintenance. Its unique Coulter suspension allows it to follow the contour of the field yet remain forgiving in rocks. Our hydraulically adjustable Coulter angles mean you never leave the cab, making residue management easier, more efficient. Spring or fall, the Mandico Twister is the new leader. Check with your local dealer or visit mandicoagri.com.
One of the things that's changed on a lot of wheat farms around the world is many wheat farmers are now using pre-emerge herbicides. It's really important to have great weed control early in the season in wheat, just like it is in corn. So today we'll talk about some of those wheat pre-emerge options.
The cool thing I think about wheat is that you're going to get crop canopy earlier than with many other crops that you're raising. And if we can do a great job early in the season and get that wheat off to a great start where it has a perfect stand, our weed control is so much easier later in the season. And many of the harmful weeds that we're trying to stop, like wild oats or downy brome, a lot of them are coming up about the same time the wheat is. So it makes sense that our toughest weeds to fight are germinating about the same time the wheat is. Why not use a pre-emerge herbicide?
All right, we've got two different categories here. There's grass and there's broadleaves. Let's start with the broadleaf side because that's pretty easy. You really have two basic options. The best for broadleaves is going to be Sharpen. Now Sharpen is a little bit expensive. A couple ounces is going to cost you somewhere around 10 bucks an acre. I wish that price was a little bit cheaper, but it is what it is. It's an excellent product with great burn down, good residual, and it has activity on a lot of different broadleaf weeds. So Sharpen's the absolute way to go if you say, oh man, broadleaves are a major problem for me. Like kochia, for example. We talk to a lot of wheat producers in the western United States, and they say, I'm having a struggle with my kochia. Not too tough, use Sharpen down. You've got good post-emerge options like Starine, for example. All right, so the other broadleaf product that we talk about down would be Prepare. Well, wait a second. Prepare has grass control and broadleaf control. So why am I saying broadleaves? Well, I look at this Prepare. It's an ALS herbicide. It's similar chemistry, or really the same chemistry as Everest 2.0 post-emerge, but it actually has good activity on a lot of different winter annuals. And yeah, it might not be as good as Sharpen, but it's much less expensive, and it is going to give you at least some control early, so then post-emerge, your post-herbicide doesn't have to do as much work.
All right, now with Sharpen, that's a PPO family product, so it's something different that you're not normally using in your wheat program. I like that a lot. Get a different site of action out there. And you know, like we talk about with Prepare grass and broadleaf control, with Sharpen, just broadleaf control. The other mistake I see a lot of guys have, or assumption that I see guys have with Sharpen, is they see what kind of burn down product it is, and they're like, wow, that's the best burn down product I've ever used. Hold on, it's got residual. It's gonna keep working out there for you for a while too.
All right, so let's talk about this grass side. We mentioned Prepare already. Yep, it's got some activity on broadleaves. It actually has a little bit better activity on grass. It is going to help you, at least, with wild oats. Definitely going to help you with downy brome. A lot of different grass species, foxtails for example, it's going to have some activity. Just don't expect perfect control. What a lot of people are doing, if they've got lower pHs, let's say you got 6 pH or less, they're using the full rate of 0.3 ounces per acre. People with high pHs, over 7 and especially over 7.5, we've seen a lot of those guys cut the rate back to 0.2 ounces just because Prepare has better activity in high pH soils and they can get similar control for less money. So you're talking in the range of $3 to $6 an acre, something like that, depending on your rate.
We're also seeing some guys use Olympus, which is another ALS herbicide at a relatively low rate as a pre-emerge herbicide. And we're getting some good control out of that, especially on downy brome. And when we think about that downy brome, it's tough to get post-emerge, and you've really got to do it in the fall if you want the best job possible. Now, sometimes we're out there planting, we don't see any downy brome up yet, and in a lot of those cases, if you can't get a good Roundup burn down on it, you say, you know what, I gotta have something pre because I know it's gonna pop up as soon as we get some rain. Olympus is one of the things guys are turning to.
Well, it's not just Olympus, it's Olympus, Outrider, and PowerFlex. Those are the 3 good downy brome products that need to be used in the fall. With all 3 of them, I like them post-emerge rather than pre-emerge, but you know, you could use them pre-emerge if you wanted to. I prefer to use them post because you get a little bit more bang for the buck. Now, there is a new chemistry that's out in wheat. In corn, you're probably very familiar with Harness, Surpass, Outlook, Dual, and the product Zidua is in that same group. Zidua can be used in corn, it can be used in soybeans. Well, it can now also be used in wheat. So just check the label in your area for the timing on when to use that Zidua. But all we can tell you is, hey, if you've got ALS resistant weeds, if you have ACCase resistant weeds, maybe going to Zidua, which is a group 15, would be a pretty good option.
Hey, we didn't talk about Varro, Brian, and that's one that has some residual too for some grasses. We're seeing a lot of guys, instead of just using Varro, they're using something like Husky Complete where they get that chemistry in there. We've used this thiocarbazone methyl active ingredient before. We use it in other crops like corn, for example, and that's been a nice product for some grass control also.
Yep, but it is an ALS just like what Prepare would be, and Prepare is a little bit less expensive. So I guess the main thing that we wanted to stress to you today is there are good options. If you've got broadleaf problems, grass problems, get them under control really early. Thin that population out. It's going to make it a lot easier for you to control your weeds post-emerge, and it's going to make it a lot easier for you to get top yields.
We talked about a lot of products here, but do any of them control our weed of the week? We'll show you coming up later in the show.
As weed resistance becomes more of a problem across the country, your crop protection program needs to stay flexible to be effective. Hi-Pro Innovative Spray Technology's wide selection of spray tips and nozzle configurations are available to keep your crop protection program right on technology, right on target.
With the success of the Case IH Steiger Quad Track and Magnum Road Track tractors, it's no secret why Case IH is the leader of the track. So it wasn't surprising when the competition started imitating us. But only Case IH offers a 5-axle design to give you a smoother ride, more power to the ground, with less berming and compaction. Still, we're flattered. In fact, if we weren't already red, we'd be blushing.
I would recommend Morton for many reasons, but one is that they have a long history of standing behind their buildings.
Our sales experience with Morton was a nice experience. You know, they told us what it was going to cost, what it was going to be, you know, how it was going to run, and it worked out really well for us.
Morton has built me one heck of a nice building, and it should stand for a very, very long time. I was very happy with the workmanship.
Check us out online at mortonbuildings.com.
Introducing the SoilMax ZD48, the newest addition to the SoilMax Gold Digger lineup. The first plow designed for smaller class tractors, the ZD48 has been tested on tractors weighing between 10,000 and 16,000 pounds with excellent results. Designed for row crop farms, vineyards, irrigation, and specialty crop farms. The SoilMax ZD48 will install tile up to 48 inches deep, as well as install 3 or 4-inch tile. The ZD48 truly opens up the world of tile installation to more farms than ever before.
Sometimes, getting the yield you want means you need a whole new game plan. Think about it. When the older, conventional fertilizer you've been using goes head-to-head with tough soil conditions, they can get all tied up before they ever have a chance to score. That's when it's time to regroup. Time to send in the A-Team. AgroLiquid isn't like other fertilizers. Their nutrient-balanced products stay in the soil in the right formulations in just the right amounts. And because of AgroLiquid's unique chelation technology, you wind up using less and seeing more in your yields. So you could wind up having one heck of a championship season. Make a smart start with AgroLiquid. To find the closest nutrient coach near you, visit agroliquid.com.
We got a number of calls this summer about, hey, there's some kind of disease happening out in our corn that we haven't seen before, and guys that went out with foliar fungicides, well, found them to be very ineffective. Well, guess what? When it's a bacterial disease, foliar fungicides that control fungus are not going to be effective.
All right, so this new disease that we wanted to talk about a little bit today is called Xanthomonas, also known as bacterial leaf streak in corn. Like Darren said, it is a bacteria, so the fungicides typically are not effective on it. However, that doesn't mean you shouldn't spray a fungicide anyway out in your field, because fungicides, depending on the one you use, might have some overall plant health benefits. If you can control the fungal diseases that are out there, well, that means that your plant is more able to fight off a bacteria. So there could still be some benefits to applying a fungicide. But with this particular disease, it kind of looks like a fungus. It looks a little bit like gray leaf spot. It can show up relatively early in the season in Nebraska, for example. They've seen it in June the last couple of years. So already when you're going to go out there spraying your fungicide at tassel application, if you're just looking quick, you might say, oh, looks like a fungal disease. I got a little bit of it. I'm just going to go spray a fungicide. And no, you don't. So what we would suggest you do is take some leaf samples of whatever disease it is you think and just send it into the lab, send it into the university and say, hey, can you analyze this? Because if it is that bacterial disease, what do? I mean, there aren't any real good bactericides that are out there. Maybe you could spray a copper product or something like that. But the big difference between a fungicide and a bactericide like a copper product, well, the copper isn't going to go into the plant. It's not going to be systemic. All it's going to do is kill stuff on the top of the plant, and you have to have great coverage for it to do anything.
Well, I think the big thing here is just eliminating as much stress as possible. So when you look at fields that have good balanced fertility, when you look at fields that don't have any injury from hail or equipment or whatever, and they have no other stresses, they can tolerate some of this bacterial leaf streak. But then you've got fields that are drought stressed and fields that are out of balance on fertility and they're short of one or more nutrients out in the field. Then they've got some weed pressure or maybe some insect pressure. All of a sudden, something like bacterial leaf streak comes along and just hammers them. We don't have all the answers on this one yet. It's something that's relatively new, and a lot of research is being done, so we aren't even close to as far as we are with a bacterial disease like Gauss's wilt, where we've actually got plots around the country where new hybrids for corn are being evaluated and actually being inoculated with Gauss's wilt just to see how well they tolerate it. Look for some of this work to happen over the next few years.
Yep, so in the meantime, if you're worried about this disease, tillage should help. Crop rotation should help. It's just unfortunate. You can talk to your seed provider. They're probably not going to know which ones are more tolerant and which ones aren't. So like Darren said, do everything you can to make sure your crop's in good shape for fertility, for other diseases, for weed control, bug control, everything possible, and hopefully it can tolerate any bacterial leaf streak that might show up.
But one thing you can't tolerate on your farm is our Weed of the Week. We'll show you how to stop it coming up next. There is still corn piled outside. Hi, I'm Darren Hefty with today's Ag Minute. With the United States raising more corn from year to year, there's not enough bin space to hold all the crop at the same time. For short-term storage, corn piles are a useful tool in the late fall and early winter. Tarps are often used to keep snow and rain off the corn so it stays dry until it's picked up. The other thing many pilers will do is simply plan to pick the corn up within a few weeks of putting it outside. With the cold temperatures, the corn will store just fine for a short time. Within a month or two after harvest, most of the corn piles in the country are either fed to livestock or ground for ethanol, leaving the corn in the bins for later use. However, we did have a big crop last year, and some piles are being picked up quickly right now to avoid the spoilage that could come with the spring warm-up. With today's Ag Minute, I'm Darren Hefty.
The Weed of the Week is sponsored by the Enlist Weed Control System from Dow AgroSciences, a new herbicide and trait system that will build on glyphosate.
Farming isn't just in the land, it's in you. Take control of weeds like never before. Enlist builds on the Roundup Ready system, combining proven control of a new 2,4-D and glyphosate in Enlist Duo herbicide. Protect what matters without changing the way you farm. Talk to your seed or crop protection supplier today.
Our Weed of the Week is Yellow Foxtail. You can tell it apart from something like green foxtail by looking for long tufts of hair at the base of the leaf blade near where it hooks up to the stem.
All right, with Yellow Foxtail, it is a terrible yield robber, especially early in the season. You want to get this thing under control right away for maximum yields.
So in corn, we like a full rate of a harness, surpass, dual, or outlook. That's the best way to stop it early. Post-emerge, if you've got Roundup resistant corn or Liberty resistant corn, great. Roundup and Liberty are good options too.
All right, let's say you had lower pressure of Yellow Foxtail. You can certainly use a cut rate of harness, surpass, outlook, and dual as long as you're going to follow with Roundup or Liberty post. But if you're in conventional corn, you've got to have that full rate.
All right, in soybeans, Authority and Valor are great broadleaf products and they're okay grass products. You're going to do so much better using Treflan, Sonlan, or Prowl.
Post-emerge, it's real easy. Roundup works, Liberty works in those tolerant soybeans. And then even in conventional soybeans, you've got Select Max, you got Assure 2, you got a whole bunch of different options there for grass.
All right, in wheat, there are pre-emerge herbicide options. You can use something like Prepare Down and then follow up with Axial post-emerge.
Well, that's it for our Weed of the Week Yellow Foxtail, but stay tuned, Iron Talk is coming up next.
A farmer's attention to detail is what makes the difference. You take the time for service management because you know how vital it is to your operation. You service your field like everything else because soil sampling makes all the difference and gets the results you want. Download the app Soil Test Pro and start grid sampling today. Keep your farm growing strong. The more you test, the more you know.
Are you looking for an easy way to apply dry powdered products to your stored grain? Do you want to use the applicator recommended by industry leaders for products like Diacon-D and other dry powder products? Changing Time CT applicators successfully apply a diversity of products quickly, easily, and accurately. The innovative CT applicators are designed to give you the most accurate application of products such as talc, inoculants, fertilizers, and other dry products. For commercial use or on the farm, you need the applicator industry leaders are using. CT applicators for the changing times.
I choose Stein because of the family background in the genetic selection that they have. Things have to change in order to improve operations. You just can't keep maintaining doing what you're doing. And the farmers, what they built their business on and what they're going to have to continue building their business on. And the only way for them to build their business is for the small farmer to build his business. I think that this is the path to 300 bushel corn, and I think it's the way of the future to feed the world.
Corn uses 75% of its nitrogen after V10. Investing all of your nitrogen budget before the crop is planted means you can't react to the changes in nitrate levels due to mineralization, rainfall, and temperatures. Split application using the 360Y drop boosts nitrogen efficiency and often yields. In seasons with strong mineralization, you can save input costs by reducing applied N. In wet years, replace lost N and hit your yield goal. Learn more at 360yieldcenter.com.
We had super dry conditions right at the end of the fall, probably some driest corn we've harvested. Head shell was almost nil, very minimal. We were down to a kernel or less per square foot with this head, and normally we thought we were doing good keeping down to that 3 kernels per square feet with our previous head. Whether the corn's worth $3, $6, or $8 a bushel, definitely puts more money in our pocket at the end of the day.
Iron Talk is brought to you by Case IH.
The AFS Connect Farm Management System from Case IH connects you, and only you, to the information you need most from your equipment, from anywhere, at any time. AFS Connect, only from Case IH.
Weed control in soybeans is a big challenge for farmers across the country. Part of that solution is using pre-emerge herbicides. But what if you're using tillage as well? Today's Iron Talk will discuss the timing, tillage tool, and depth of incorporation needed to make your soybean herbicides work their best this year. The primary herbicides that require tillage for soybeans are Treflan and Sonalan. You can use a field cultivator, a field finisher, even a disc. They're very forgiving products in the soil, as they both are root inhibitors. The most important thing is that these products need to be incorporated instantly. Their vapor pressure is very high, and if you don't work them in right away, they could be lost. To accomplish this, putting spray nozzles on right in front of the tillage tool would be the best. The alternative to this is to buy Prowl. It's similar chemistry to Treflan and Sonalan, except you don't need to till it in at all. So Prowl's the no-till product, but if you do want to till it in, just keep it shallow with a field cultivator running fast. Valor, Authority, and Sharpen are in the PPO family and should either be left on the soil surface or very lightly incorporated. Metribuzin is a forgiving product that can be worked in with a variety of tools that can do a nice job of mixing the soil, or it could be left on the soil surface too. The challenge is when you're mixing 3 pre's like we always discuss in the premium weed control program. If it's Prowl and Authority MTZ, for example, which contains Metribuzin and Authority, you can use them without tillage or just a very light incorporation an inch or 2 deep. With any combination including Treflan, though, you'll need to use the disc kit. If you're looking to save money on herbicide this year, you should consider this simple equipment investment, as it could save you $5 or $6 an acre using Treflan versus Prowl. Pick the right herbicides and partner that with the optimum tillage system for excellent weed control on your farm this year. That's all for today's Iron Talk, and now back to the show.
Closed captioning for AgPhD is sponsored by Norwood Sales.
On your farm, you need speed and year-round effectiveness in your tillage program. The Quick Till from Norwood Sales allows you to move quickly through your fields, maximizing time and improving yield. Constructed of heavy-duty materials, the Quick Till is ideal for both spring and fall applications, from preparing a healthy seedbed early in the season to breaking up corn residue after harvest. For more information about how a Quick Till can improve fields on your farm, call Norwood Sales today.
Well, we hope you've enjoyed our show today. But before we go, we want to invite you to tune in to the AgPhD radio show, where we answer your live phone calls and your questions each weekday on SiriusXM channel 147 at 2 p.m. Central.
Or you can continue to watch us on AgPhD TV. We'll be back next time with another Weed of the Week, Farm Basics Iron Talk, and a whole lot more. I'm Darren Hefty.
And I'm Brian Hefty. Thanks for watching AgPhD.
Did you realize that a healthy soil only contains about 50% dirt? In order for the soil microbes and plants to work together properly, soil should contain 25% air and 25% water. Today's farming practices are designed around maintaining that healthy balance. To learn more, visit the Responsible Nutrient Management Foundation at rnmf.org.